Russia, Romania, and Bulgaria cannot see a couple of my lovely videos.
So Rusev's family can get none of your golf tutorials.
They get most of the tutorials, but none of the fun stuff I did.
I'm sorry, Mama Rusev, Papa Rusev. You're in Bulgaria. You just can't get any of the good stuff. The Vision are short one man. I think you get the reveal of the fourth member of the Vision to even the odds. I have a guess as to who that is.
Lay it on us.
I think, welcome to the Lariat Lounge. This is the home of smart takes, hard hits, and real talk. I'm your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens. Skeener, what a set of developments that we have had since the conclusion of SummerSlam. There are a lot of interesting things to talk about. I am absolutely certain that we are going to touch on some of the things that have come from Smackdown and Raw. But man, there's been so many things that have happened outside of the show itself with WWE that I have some real thoughts about. And boy, I feel like there's probably going to be some venting happening here. What are your thoughts? In fact, let's pull this back. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing solid. We had a little flooding issue in Milwaukee. Displaced me from my basement for the time being, but you know what? A lot of neighbors and other people in the city have it a lot worse than the wife and I do, so really just counting the blessings more than moaning about the whatever the opposite of blessings is.
I get you. I got you. Listen, I said a little RIP for the former version of your basement, and we'll get the rising of the phoenix of the new version. I guess when I come visit you in Milwaukee, whenever that is, I guess I will have never seen the basement as it used to be.
It should go back to pretty much about the same. Thankfully, we're renting, so.
True.
None of this is our responsibility, but
True.
all the demos done, and I think they just sprayed for mold a couple hours ago when I was out, and hopefully, I'll be back to normal here in about a week and a half, which is a lot better than a lot more people here can say.
Yeah.
So again, if I just have to record the podcast from my dining room table for a week or two, not that bad.
No, I hear you, man. And listen, my prayers go out to all the people in Milwaukee who have been affected by this. All this sucks. It absolutely does. If there was 2 feet of standing water in your basement and that was the light end of things, I can only imagine what it's like on the heavy side for people.
Neighbors right across the street had 5 feet of water in their basement.
Wild, man.
Yeah, that's losing everything. We just lost some stuff, but everyone's fine and healthy, and we can live in the home, and yeah, a lot of people have it a lot worse, so definitely still blessed.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad your wife's okay. I'm glad the doggos are okay. And I hope that everyone you're listening, if you're listening in Milwaukee, you've got the Lariat Lounge love. If we had tons of money, I'd send some relief to you, but we are shoestringing budgets. So, we all we can give you is our prayers and our love. But everybody, hope you make it through whatever you're going through as best as possible. And thank you, everyone, for coming out and listening. You've been making the episodes of Lariat Lounge Live, which I'm about to just truncate to Lariat Live. I think it sounds better. But
okay.
Thank you all for coming out and checking out Lariat Live on Mondays and Fridays. It's been fun to kind of get on, live stream, chat with a few people who show up, and just watch Monday Night Raw and Friday Night Smackdown together. I'd be watching it anyway. So just being able to kind of get up here and chat with some folks has been nice and fun. There's some things I got to figure out about streaming because I'm not super versed in it, even though I'm trying to actively expand it. Right. So I'm thinking about setting up a Twitch account for Lariat Live just so I can kind of get to streaming in both Twitch and YouTube, get a little bit more exposure. At the same time, I have to figure out the parameters exactly for what is allowed streaming wise. So
yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the deal with live streaming content like that is.
Yeah, I got hit with a partial copyright
for the audio
on Monday. Yeah, for the audio, and I think we got a partial copyright on night 1 of SummerSlam.
Does it say the source?
Absolutely. It's absolutely the source of every little partial strike. And mind you, none of the partial strikes. Actually, let me rephrase, because I think I'm using the wrong terminology. There was never a strike. It was like a copyright warning, and that prevented the live stream from being viewed in certain geographic
Countries.
locations.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had that. I've had that on some golf videos.
Yes, it was only Russia. It was Russia on all of them.
Russia and Romania cannot view the Skeens golf content. I'll say that.
Okay, so it's only those places because it hasn't been hindered anywhere. It doesn't stop it from showing up in any, searches or anything like that.
But now you say that, I remember. Yeah, I did a video that had not even music, but like some video from another source, and yeah, Russia, Romania, and Bulgaria cannot see a couple of my lovely videos.
So Rusev's family can get none of your golf tutorials.
They can get most of the tutorials, but none of the fun stuff I did.
I'm sorry, Mama Rusev, Papa Rusev. You're in Bulgaria. You just can't get any of the good stuff. But yeah, we had those things. So figuring out how that works, I think some of it may have to do with the volume of the audio, how much is picked up over my voice going over these things. Because I know there is an element of transformative nature of products when they're put forward. And if it's transformative enough in the video on demand where my voice is going over something that is in the background or considered in the background, I think it probably can skate by a little bit more. And like I said, in the States, in a lot of the places that the Lariat Lounge gets consumed, we didn't get hit. It was literally only in Mother Russia and nowhere else. So part of me is wondering if this is something that I should even be worried about at all. But it probably is something that would affect us more if our platform was a little bigger. So,
yeah,
I'll look into it for future reference. And, in the event that Lariat Live gets bigger and gets more eyes on the product, then, it may be something I consider where we don't do the live stream on Twitch or YouTube with the backing audio, and maybe it's something that could go on something in the future, like a Patreon.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about wrestling wise, dude, because there are some things that have been happening in the world of professional wrestling that are not happening on screen with professional wrestling. And for all of the interesting things that are happening on the product, which there are some interesting things happening on the product, there seem to be some very interesting things that are happening outside of the product. And some of it kind of sucks from what it is I'm gathering. So we should probably just cut to the chase. But if this is your first time listening to the Lariat Lounge, and, we were talking about Lariat Live, and you would have caught that on YouTube, the actual product that you're listening to now is the Lariat Lounge, and you can catch that in a lot of different places. Skeener, please let the new listeners know where they can catch this product in all of its glory.
We're coming at you every week in this audio format on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Lariat Lounge will be up there live once a week, at least every week. You can find us over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge or at Lariat Lounge Podcast. No the in there. At Lariat Lounge Podcast. And then always feel free to reach out to us on Gmail at the Lariat Lounge. And as Everson was saying, we're at the Lariat Lounge live on YouTube right now, coming live for Raw, Smackdown, PLEs over there chatting. Everson, most of the time, I'm going to start popping in when I can, especially when get the basement put back together and everything. But you may be blessed with just Everson for the next couple shows over there.
Yeah, and listen, I'm hoping that your whole setup will be back together before we head across the water to Paris for Clash.
It would definitely be good by then, and if not, I will find a space to do it.
Hey, look, I think I'm going to hold out hope that everything is going to be great and set up and you'll be ready to go so we can order some pizza and we can watch Clash in Paris and discuss what comes out of the match with John Cena and Logan Paul. Spoiler.
I'll tell you this. The ordering of pizza is going to happen regardless of any any
True.
live streaming or where I am. So
True.
you have no fear there.
Absolutely. And listen, I hear you on that. I am counting down to the next pizza order that I have because I love pizza. You love pizza.
You're an adult. It could be tonight.
You know what? I am an adult, and that's why it can't be tonight because adults have to live on budgets, and we budget things out. And tonight is not an eat out night. Tonight is a we cooked, and there's food available, so we're going to eat that. And tomorrow's payday, and then I could consider a pizza. I might take my wife out for pizza. We'd like to do that. But hey, enough with the fluff. Let's get to the stuff. Before we actually jump into the stuff, though, Skeena, you sound great on that new microphone. I have to say, the more we're talking, the more I am appreciating the fact that you've got a external microphone now.
There you go. Something good came out of the flooding.
Yeah, dude, it sounds really
for the setup. So there we go.
It sounds much better than the microphone that was on your PC, and that wasn't bad. But this is a lot better. The next step is getting you on a standalone desk mic, and then you're gonna sound like a studio model. I saw
him there. I almost did it.
Dude, I haven't. I have a few extras.
I just need to get one.
Listen, I can send you some deals. I find these deals all the time, and I can send you some deals. I can find some in your area. But anyway, so let me ask you, where would you like to start? We could start with Smackdown.
I was going to let you take it. Yeah, okay. Let's start. I say we start with
the shows,
with the shows, and then we'll get to the off-show stuff.
Okay. So let's start with SmackDown. So we're getting John Cena. We got John Cena and we got Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. That is the thing that I really remember coming out of SmackDown. The fallout for that, however, from that match, that is where the talk is. I was talking to someone in the chat on Lariat Live during SmackDown, and this person who I cannot remember their name, but they were saying to me how they really, really wished that Drew McIntyre would get a bigger push and a bigger push back to the championship scene. And no sooner than like maybe 5 minutes after that statement was made, Drew McIntyre proceeds to kick Cody Rhodes' head through the announce table, literally. And he's eyeballing the WWE Undisputed Championship. And I looked at this guy in the chat and I said, isn't it great when you have an idea and it like pops into your head and you're like, I wish they would do this. And then they turn around and they do it immediately. It was a cool conversation we were having, and it was a really interesting moment when it happened. And of course, we're getting Cena versus Logan Paul at Clash in Paris, which I spoiled right before, we got into the stuff. But what are your thoughts, Skeena, about that match and the fallout from that match, more importantly?
I like where everything's heading. And I don't want to dance around that we said last week on the show that we'd like some explanation or at least a little more from Cena about where this sudden change of heart came from.
Yeah.
In terms of just that face turn promo. Doesn't look like we're going to get it for the time being.
Nope.
And, I said it would be disappointing, and it is. It's probably not as disappointing and consequential, probably is the word that I would say, as it will be for some people. It's not for me going to, or at least I'm not going to let it ruin what's in front of us just because what's behind us wasn't the best, because we don't have a lot of John Cena left. I'm not going to spend it being consumed by any part of this previous stuff that was underwhelming.
Sure.
I think there'll be a big discussion to be had about what was planned and what was a pivot, because we can't get Dwayne to show up to work and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's for down the road, maybe for a season 2 of Unreal. Who knows? But look, I think John Cena and Logan Paul is going to be great. I thought their interactions as a heel team were great, and because of the time frame of us having to move the Cena stuff along that didn't get to last that long. I'm glad they're back together. I'm a huge fan of Logan Paul as a WWE superstar.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. And I think this match is going to be great. I think they can do a great character work in between them, especially Logan taking this angle of, hey, you were kind of taking me under your wing, and now what happened? Like, why'd you switch up? And I think they can get some miles out of that. I like the match for what it was. It's always great to see Cena in there. It's always great to see the other three in there. And to circle back to Drew, yeah, I think I don't know anyone that's not a gigantic fan of Drew McIntyre, and we've talked about it. And I'm glad he's back there it's seemingly in the top scene and gonna challenge Cody for this title at some point, and we'll see how that goes. Because I think now that the title's away from Cena and back with Cody, and it's not Cody's first run, I think the title situation is maybe a little more fluid. Like, I don't think Cody has to hold it forever this time. He might, but I'm going to be much more open to the possibility that the title could change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not beyond me to think that Drew McIntyre is going to come out of this soon as champion. And I will say the spot they did, I don't remember them ever having done that before, being like the Claymore and the kick through like the bottom of the announce table.
Yeah.
That looked awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That was awesome. So wanted to shout out that particular spot. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I like both programs coming out of that. Even if, the way we got there in terms of Cena wasn't kind of the big master stroke of storytelling, long-term storytelling that we all hope. It is what it is. I'm not going to ruin my last few John Cena dates by whining about what happened in the past, essentially.
Sure. So let me ask you, do you think that someone could enjoy the angle that is being told, or the story that's being told, or even the last few matches that we have, few appearances we have with John Cena, and also have adverse feelings towards how we got here?
I think, yeah, because I think that's where I'm at. I'm just at the point where, like, I'm not going to dwell on this. I think I've spoken to this before. Like, there's stuff in wrestling that obviously is not the greatest, and even will, go so far as to piss me off sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's a TV show I watch to have fun. And the day it stops being fun, I stop liking it, which is hopefully never. I'd probably stop watching it. But I don't know. I like to say I'm an enjoyer of things to a fault, and sometimes I will take the need to enjoy will turn off my penchant to be critical sometimes, especially when it's John Cena, and we don't have that much more John Cena left. So
sure, I hear you. So first of all, let me say that I thought that the match was good. I thought the match was very entertaining, and John Cena, for the lack of time that we've had with John Cena as a heel, I think it's very easy to feel like John Cena is in his bag when he's a face. But I also feel like that's kind of a forced statement, because we didn't have him as a heel very long. And we had a few different faces of Cena as a heel, but not long enough to really sink our teeth into. So, there was a sense of this feels right seeing Cena back as a face. It just felt like that was, we're getting here a little quicker than I hoped. And even though you have limited dates and you knew that there was going to be a finite amount of time that this was going to run, and that at some point you were going to turn him back around, we've just speculated for so long about how they were going to turn him back face. And I think that was due to the quality of storytelling and the equity that WWE has built with us over the years with regards to the cohesiveness of their story beats and in turn their storytelling. So for me, being somebody who is a huge mark for great stories, it hurts a little bit to see such great stories be undercut by these janky jump cuts, because that's what they feel like. They feel like jump cuts in a good movie. And you can't help but stop and think, what happened in that jump cut? Because we got from John Cena being a heel on Monday to a Friday night Smackdown coming up, and all of a sudden, skirt, there's a jump cut, and Cena's a face again. And we're watching the PLE at SummerSlam thinking, okay, maybe there's something else that's happening because that jump cut, they haven't addressed what happened there. But no, Cena's just a face again. And yeah, I think as someone who loves professional wrestling, I'm always going to love the quality of what they give me. I'm always going to be someone who appreciates the sport and appreciates the athletes and will enjoy the stories that are told within the confines of each singular match. But when you hang so much of what you're doing on an overarching story and you continue with these jump cuts, and the jump cuts happen at such pivotal moments in the story, that's the crazy thing, right? This all started with The Rock and wanting Cody's soul, jump cut to The Rock not being around. And we have no understanding as to why John Cena did what he did, right? Then we spend all this time with Cena developing the story absent of The Rock. And then you get to this other pivotal moment where the crowning babyface comes back into the picture to face the hero that fell, which is John Cena. And then you get another jump cut and the hero that fell is redeemed and you don't understand or know what happened. It's hard for me to divorce my brain from that. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy the product. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy the matches. And I'm not going to let that jump cut nature of what it is that WWE finds themselves in ruin my experience. But I also think that not addressing these things would be disingenuous. And we're addressing them because we are a genuine podcast who are genuine wrestling fans, and we talk about these things because they matter. But there are people out there in the general conversation who will be taking very polarized stances. Right. And they're either like, hey, just enjoy the product and shut up. And then there are people that are like, no, I can't enjoy the product because this all sucks now. And I think that those poles, those extremes are kind of where the line should be drawn. And, you know, in front of those extremes and everything behind it should just kind of drop off, low cut, high cut type stuff. But yeah, I think that it's credible to ask these questions. And as long as WWE continues to tell good stories, we'll move on from this, right? But I think every one of these jump cuts takes a bit away from what is dubbed the year of Cena, right? And his farewell tour. I think it does detract from it a bit. Now, as far as what came from that match, I agree. I've never seen someone get Claymore through the base of the table. I've never seen anybody get Claymore through a table, let alone the announce table. And they've got them designed now to where they can do a whole lot more with them. And they probably save money because those tables look like erectors.
Every part kind of like is separate now.
Yes, it separates, it pops out, and it goes back together. So you can easily break that table down, destroy it, and then just reset it for the next match. And you know, it's like playing WWE 2K games, right? You break the table and it'll disappear. And then when the next match starts, the table's back. And it works. You know, it's great. And I'm glad that they have something that they can utilize a little bit better. And for Drew and Cody to utilize it in that way is very unique and very different. Like I said before, when I was chatting with the dude in the chat, it's nice to see Drew hovering around the title scene again, because Drew has been world class, and definitely putting him in a program with Cody is good. I also think that we have to address the elephant that is still looming in the room that no one is talking about, even on WWE programming, which is Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar's inclusion in this has kind of reshaped how we are speculating on the future of WWE from now going through the end of the year into WrestleMania season and ultimately into WrestleMania 42. I did not have Drew McIntyre v. Cody Rhodes in any capacity on my bingo card heading into the end of the year. But I can understand why maybe you do put some larger stars in the picture with Cody, because I don't know if this story with John Cena is even going to center around Cody at all anymore. And moving into the new year, obviously Cena is going to be done by the end of the year. If we're counting his dates down, which I was doing on the live stream, right? If you're counting the fact that John Cena has, according to him, 11 dates left, you've got Clash in Paris at the end of this month. You've got Crown Jewel Perth, which is in October, right? Then you've got Survivor Series in November. Unless we are going to be super duper sparing on John Cena's dates that he's going to show up, he's going to at least be on the card for Clash in Paris, obviously. He's probably going to be on the card for Crown Jewel Perth, and he's probably going to be on the card for Survivor Series, right? That's 3. John Cena probably is going to...
And I will say he will definitely wrestle one more time, at least.
Oh, yeah.
They'll do a something.
Sure.
Even if they just have to create a PLE and call it John Cena's final match or something.
And listen,
he'll go one more.
I don't think we're done seeing Cena this year outside of those 3 events. I think he's going to wrestle some more. I don't imagine a world where he's going to just not be on Raw or SmackDown until PLEs come around. And every appearance that he has, not match, right, counts towards those remaining dates. So if WWE is sticking to the date formula that they've set for Cena, his last match is going to be in the year of our Lord 2025. Now, Brock Lesnar has shaken up my thoughts on what we get with regards to John Cena. I said before, you and I have both agreed with this, that ideally Cena's last match would have been against The Rock. With Lesnar's introduction, and
Who's
then...
that? Haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, which one? Rock or Brock?
The Rock.
Okay, because I was about to say both of them, because we haven't seen Rock in a while, but I mean, we had a Brock Lesnar sighting at SummerSlam.
Weeks.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, look, that's my point, right? So we got Brock at SummerSlam, and then they barely spoke of him on the Raw after SummerSlam, right? They didn't say anything about Brock on SmackDown, and then the following Raw, the Raw from this week, nothing, not a word about Brock. Obviously, we're not getting Brock at Clash in Paris, unless he just shows up in Paris to ruin John Cena's match. But even if you do that, I don't think that John Cena is wrestling his match against Brock Lesnar in Australia. I could see it possibly, even if I didn't want to, if Crown Jewel Perth was not happening in Perth. If it was happening in Saudi, where it always does, and they've got a lot of, Saudi money, I could see Brock coming for that big paycheck. But Crown Jewel Perth, I don't see it. It seems like there's a bigger draw to have Brock in the States at Survivor Series. If that's the case, I don't know. Like, is John Cena's last match going to be against Brock Lesnar?
Well, see, we're going to have to differ here, because I think there's a good chance it does happen in Perth.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it could happen in Perth or Survivor Series. Obviously, it's not happening in Paris, but I feel like Perth's big enough. I think they got a pretty big check from the Australian government that can certainly cover the Brock Lesnar asking price.
Okay.
And I just think, we'll have to see how big of a deal they're making that. And we'll know that in the future. But I think that's a possibility.
Okay.
But, to play into what you said, like, it's certainly a possibility that his last match is Brock Lesnar if we can't get Dwayne to come to work, which seems to be a thing that I don't want to be a thing, but it's hard to ignore it at this point. Like, I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Let's say we go with what you were saying, which I can see a world where that happens. You convinced me. If there is enough financial gain in it for Lesnar to go to Crown Jewel Perth and wrestle Cena there, Cena will still have some dates left going into the month of November and Survivor Series. There is no PLE in December
yet.
Okay, so let's say, John Cena would have to.
Rumors about a Saturday night's main event.
Brother, they better not do Cena's last thing at a Saturday night's main event in December. Like,
it would it would kind of suck for us, but I could see it as a way to just, draw a gigantic rating. Like that's a big old rating if you put John Cena's last match on TV.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? And look, maybe this might be a foreign concept to some. If you are like Skeena and myself who play video games, this may be more relevant to you, particularly in 2025 with the way the video game industry is currently. So in the video game industry, we're dealing with an issue right now with the quality of video games that are being produced versus the cost of video games for consumers. It's becoming less and less viable of a thing for young gamers. I say more so young gamers like Gen Z gamers, right? To be able to afford to play video games the way that we millennials can afford to play video games. And all of this is driven by an industry who, on the whole, not necessarily for every individual studio, because you can have individual motives and differences of opinions, right? But on a whole, the industry has really driven itself to a profit gaining mentality when it comes to putting forth video games. Whatever it is that looks like is making the most money, every publisher wants to try and emulate that, even if it's outside of the realms of what you can actually do. Part of that is because oftentimes the people who really make it big, games-wise, publisher-wise, they don't really know when they catch lightning in a bottle. They just catch it, right? And they catch the zeitgeist and they, get the people going. And they make a lot of money and sell a lot of games. Nobody thought Schedule 1 was going to sell 6 million copies, but it did, right? And that indie developer didn't go into it thinking, I'm going to do this formula because it's going to earn a lot of money. And then they landed on 6 million. But you're going to have publishers that are going to show up after Schedule 1's release, which it already has released, and they're going to try and recreate that formula for the idea of making a lot of money. What you tend to lose when you do that is you lose what made the magic magical in the first place. You miss it entirely because your motivation is not to put forth a good product. Your motivation is to get money. Now, let's juxtapose that with WWE currently. I think for all the great storytelling that they're doing, and this is me being an honest fan, for all of the great storytelling that they're doing that I love, I think all of this is more profit driven than it has ever been in the history of this company. It's impossible for it not to be because this company is not a privately owned company anymore, right? And so they have a ton of shareholders who are not wrestling fans. You know what I'm saying? They are part of TKO. And so
the company is not, even when it was public with Vince McMahon being the controlling shareholder, for all people want to say about Vince, and I'm not trying to make this a Vince thing.
No, I got you.
Where you're going, this is, Vince cared about WWE, and for whatever people want to say, he cared about at least his style of the wrestling to some point. Sure, he wanted to make money, but he cared about the entertainment, be it his way, and whether or not you jived with that. But where you're going, like, these people could care less if the story and wrestling makes sense as long as it makes the big money.
Right.
I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes. And to a degree, right, you have these extremes that swing with the pendulum because you get these moments where everything is moving exactly according to plan. And when it's moving exactly according to plan, you keep the shareholders happy and they're quiet. And so you have people like Paul Levesque, who he and his writing staff can write these incredible stories over the course of 4 or 5 years, like they did with the Bloodline, right? With Cody's finishing the story arc, and really tell these incredible stories that for the most part were hiccup free, right? And they just told this cohesive long-term story. And you sell the audience on this, and it works, and the shareholders are happy. But then when the shareholders, like these publishers of these video games, right, start putting their finger on the scale, and we want to do this thing to make this kind of money and do this type of stuff, right? Let's put The Rock in this story with Cody and Roman, bring him into this thing, And then you get we want to bring The Rock in because we want to pop some big ratings with selling his soul to Cody, right? But then The Rock doesn't come back, okay? Then you got these freaking jump cuts where things just go away. The storytelling continues to be good, but you have this disjointed aspect of the story that's being told. Now, jump forward to where we were in this conversation where you were talking about if they put it on a Saturday night's main event and they crack a special one for December and it's all surrounding Cena's last match, right? Or his last date or whatever. And they could work the video packages up and it could be really great because we all know that WWE is masterful with those video packages, right? And they'll turn hearts and they'll turn minds and they'll shed tears and it'll be lovely and it'll be wonderful. They could do this. And like you said, they could do it on television and pop a huge rating. And then you look back at the story of Cena's farewell tour, right? And once the rose-colored goggles have been removed over time, people will look at that story and they will say, it had some good points, but you had these angles that just sometimes were really big and then just went nowhere. And you bring back Brock Lesnar for what reason? There was not really a need to do it, right? And then all of the storytelling that you try to build over the course of 2025 gets summarily dropped when Cena just miraculously turns back to the face, right? And then goes out on a Saturday night's main event against who? Because it's not going to be The Rock at this point. And if you drop Lesnar at Crown Jewel Perth, right, then Cena, sits out Survivor Series? Or you throw another match together for Cena to just wrestle someone? Like, you had something that we all questioned in the beginning when The Rock didn't show up for work, right? And then you took all this time to build this story that you roped everybody back into, right? And Cena, being the charismatic professional that he is, just drew us all back in, right? And then all of a sudden, you just drop it. Cena just turns back face after a stern conversation with Cody. Cena turns back around. And it's not a ruse, folks. He's just back face. And then Lesnar comes back to, mixed reviews. And then you don't hear about Lesnar anymore. Now, Lesnar's going to come back for sure. That would be the most monumental ball drop ever. But
if he just showed up and it never came back.
Yeah, he just showed up to mess up Cena's night one night and then left. That would be the most petty thing I think I've ever seen in professional wrestling.
That would kind of be lit, though. I'm going to be honest.
Honestly, if he did that just because, and they cut like a work shoot promo with Lesnar, and they're just like, I hate his guts. So I was in town.
Yeah, I just stayed up and just came to screw his night up.
But they're not going to do that. And so he's going to come back, which means whatever story they're going to tell with Brock Lesnar, and this is all from the perspective of storytelling, right? And people who enjoy great stories. The story is going to suffer. The story is going to suffer because they're not even touching Brock Lesnar right now. What story are you going to try to tell me between now and Crown Jewel Perth that is really going to be worth a damn? And then once that's over with, what are we doing after that? Are we going back to the tried and true formula that we tried not to do in the beginning, which is play Cena's greatest hits until he rides out? Because that seems like a waste of the whole year's worth of story that you've been telling. I don't know, man. Like,
I get it, and I'm with you. I'm going to, as we have so many times, maybe to a fault, I want to see where it goes.
Sure.
And I think there will be a time, fortunately and unfortunately in a lot of ways, that in not too long, we'll be able to take a, 30,000 foot retrospective on this, because it'll be over and Cena will be gone. And I think there'll be a time for a great special episode where we can just sit back and, having had it all happened and the benefit of hindsight and having read the whole book, for lack of a better terms, where we could sit back and say, oh yeah, I didn't actually like this as much, or I liked this more than I thought, and this made more sense. Not saying any of that is going to happen with the stuff now or anything, but I'm not going to project too much into the future because I've been so wrong about the future so far that it seems pointless with this John Cena stuff.
Sure.
At this part, I think you made a very poignant and apropos analogy with the jump cuts in a movie, because it does feel like a movie that had like that 30, 45 minutes cut out.
Yes.
Because we just didn't have enough time. Did you see Gladiator 2?
No, I did not.
Okay. Well, it kind of feels that's the perfect analogy that popped in my head once you said yours.
Okay.
Is there's a point where there's essentially just like a face turn and a change of heart that just happens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you're like, there had to have been like 30 extra minutes of this movie explaining this that we
got left
get
on the
to
cutting
see.
room floor.
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't, it ruins, you kind of see it and you go, oh man, that's kind of, but you still enjoy the rest of the movie because it is what it is. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm not brushing aside that what we saw was underwhelming, but I can't talk about something that didn't happen. Like, yeah, I wish other stuff had happened and they had explained this Cena face turn, but they didn't. So, like, the only thing I can offer is what I said. Like, yeah, that's disappointing, but
Yeah.
let's see where it goes. Like, yeah, not my favorite, not how I would have done it. Maybe not even how they wanted to do it.
Sure.
We'll see. But
No, I got you.
The train rolls down the tracks, even if it's not going to the destination where we thought it was. And that's the thing. We board this train all the time, and we think we may know where it's going, and sometimes it just blows past some stops and stops at other ones and twists and turns, but gives us something to talk about every week.
This is true. And mind you, and I want everyone to understand too, like, this is not me being like a jaded fan. This is me being someone who accepts being on the ride. Just because I accept being on the ride, just because we accept being on the ride, doesn't necessarily mean that every turn on the ride feels good.
Yeah, I don't want it to be cast as like, right, oh, I'm just excusing it or I like it.
Oh, no. I hear you.
Yeah, kind of sucked is what it is though. Like,
yeah, it's, I mean, either you're on the ride or you get off of it. And,
right.
And I understand that. And it was something that Paul Heyman said. I didn't watch his interview with Ariel Helwani, but I heard an excerpt from it, and it was something, and honestly, being honest, I didn't agree with what he said. But there's no doubt that what he said was true. And I'm not going to quote it. I can't quote it, but I can paraphrase. He said something about like it or not, you're not going to cancel Brock. And I didn't like it because it lent to this idea that, whether you like it or not, if you enjoy the product, you're still going to watch it. It's still going to garner ratings and reviews. And you know what I'm saying? And so you can talk all day about Brock shouldn't be here this and Brock shouldn't be here that. But at the end of the day, either you're going to watch or you're not. But you're not going to cancel Brock. And I didn't like it because I didn't like the position that it took. But there's a difference between what I like and what I don't like versus what is true. And there are people who are going to watch regardless. I'm going to watch regardless. I don't have any intention on boycotting the product. It doesn't really serve a purpose. And I don't think that boycotting the product or not boycotting the product does anything with regards to re-emphasizing or re-strengthening my moral convictions on certain things. That's why we do what we do here on this podcast. We talk about the things that maybe some other outlets don't want to talk about. And we put our thoughts and our opinions and our feelings on things on the record for everyone to hear. And then we continue to consume the product that we consume because there's nothing for me to hide here. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing to hide here. And we are honest about our feelings on things. So, by the way, did you know that somebody complimented us on that?
Are you talking about the guy that came into the stream and said it?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, you told me about that, which was nice to hear because, yeah, I would rather us do this how we do it and be honest and not avoid stuff and get a fifth of the following we could if we were performative and fake and danced around things.
Yes, agreed, 1,000%, 1,000%. And I told that guy that night when he was on the live stream, and I'll say it again for the listeners who may not catch our live streams, but you catch the podcast. We're not changing in that regard. Until
that NordVPN money shows up, then maybe we'll see.
Listen, I'm going to go and tell you right now, as somebody who does fashion himself as someone who is principled, even NordVPN money is not going to change that. But I agree with everything you said. I mean, like seriously, straight up 1,000% Skeens. I would keep the small fan base we have right now and stay who we are than to turn into one of the people who dances around or doesn't touch certain things so that they could get into the WWE fake press conferences and ask truncated questions.
Those are no more, so we're not getting in.
True.
And a lot of the people that are no longer getting in were real mad on Twitter, and I took great joy in that, to be honest.
I wonder what their fan base looks like now that they're not in those spaces anymore. I mean, if there's any indication, and we'll touch this and then we'll move on. If it's any indication on the fact that such a small podcast as the Lariat Lounge and an even smaller live stream platform as Lariat Lounge Live is, there was someone who just came into our live stream and thanked us for being who we are because they were tired of going to outlets where people just refused to talk about the real things, that they would make idiotic assertions about things, or they just didn't touch it at all. And they appreciated the fact that someone was out here and they were really just having a conversation about it. Just a real person-to-person combo. And I appreciate that. That is more flattering to me than any sponsorship that this podcast or the live stream could ever get. So, thank you guys for showing up and doing what it is that you do and appreciating Skeeter and I just being here and doing what we do.
Yep, I echo that 1,000%.
So is there anything else on Smackdown that jumps out to you right now? I know we have recency bias, you and I both.
I'm 2 feet of water in my basement removed from Smackdown, so I lost a lot of it. Charlotte and Alexa's Alexa's birthday party, right?
That was the cake ceremony. Fun. Yes.
The cake and giving her the Charlie doll.
The Charlie doll. Yeah.
And the cake and congratulations, Charlotte and Alexa written off to the side. I like that they're playing into that. They're like, hey, Charlotte's really trying, but she's still
right. She's still Charlotte.
Stuck up, self-important Charlotte. Yeah, that's really funny to me.
I like it too. And I will say this. I was very, I don't want to say impressed because that would imply that somehow I did not know that this was possible, but I enjoyed watching Charlotte wrestle a match as a pure babyface. Because if you're a wrestling fan, you understand that there is a style, a very classic template to matches that happen sometimes where you pit a true heel versus a true babyface. And the babyface will get some offense in at the beginning, and then the match turns in the heel's favor. And for the majority of the match, the babyface is taking a whooping. And then at some point, the babyface finds the fortitude to fight back, right? And then they achieve their victory. And usually the bad guys will get their comeuppance in a very evident way. And that was that match between Charlotte and Chelsea Green. And I just thought that, it was really great to see Chelsea Green in a match against Charlotte. Like, Chelsea has come a long way. And if you know Chelsea's story about being with WWE and then getting released and then being with them again and getting released again and coming back into the company and just being that person who is willing to do whatever the company wants her to do. You know what I mean?
If it's take a cake to the face.
Yes.
There are some, not to be named, who had a cake thrown in their face by Charlotte and it didn't like it and went elsewhere, and that's their prerogative. But I think you're more successful in the long run and more people will be endeared to you. And she said as much on interviews. Like, that's who, and a quote that made her a forever favorite of mine is that, these might not be the exact terms, but I think it was one of the Chris Van Vliet interviews where they're like, do you see yourself like, don't you want to be the John Cena or the Cody Rhodes? She's like, no, I want to be the Miz. I want to be the person that the company trusts and calls upon to do anything. You can go be serious and do great stuff. You can make a fool of yourself. You can work with a celebrity, all that stuff. That's who turns out to be my favorite a lot of the time. And that's why Chelsea Green has found a spot as one of my favorites.
I agree. Listen, I think that being a heel gets unappreciated in a way, not because people don't appreciate good heels. I think they get underappreciated because they undersell what makes a heel a good heel. They think that, being a bad guy is easy because being a bad guy, you don't necessarily have to appeal to the fans in the same way that a face has to appeal to fans, while also sticking to such a rigid set of rules, because the face has more rules that they have to kind of work within in order to be the quote unquote good guy. I think that the unrecognized aspect that makes heels, that should have heels be in a more appreciated stance, is the fact that a good heel does not mind losing. A good heel, like any great wrestler, understands that on the real grand scheme of things, when you're telling good stories, wins and losses are irrelevant. And it's all about the story that you tell in the ring. And a good heel will take an L. They'll take as many L's as possible, right? They want their character to get their comeuppance because that's what the heel is supposed to get. The face is supposed to get over. That's the story that they're telling. And a heel is a very pivotal part in that. A face can't be a face if the heels that they're wrestling against are not good and don't play their part. And so when you have people like Chelsea Green who are willing to lose as much as they need to, you know what I mean? Like, they're willing to lose as much as they need to. If the company wants me to lose every match, I'm going to lose every match. And I'm going to lose the best way possible. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take every bump you need, and I will go in that dumpster and come out with trash on my face, and I will eat that cake to the face because the heel is supposed to look this way, because that's how the story is being told. That is the type of professional that makes for great faces, and a good face and a good heel make for great stories. And that's why we're here. So I agree with you. Chelsea has endeared herself to me. It's been a few years for me that I've been a fan of Chelsea. And I've just loved to see her growth and maturation over this year with regards to how the company has invested in her. And it was really great to see her wrestling Charlotte, because we already understand how the company invests in Charlotte. And so to put her and Charlotte in that position, it just shows that Chelsea is on that level. At least the company sees her that way. And
oh yeah, I think she has secured herself pretty much solid employment for as long as she wants it.
Absolutely.
Like, she's just been, since she came back, she's just been great in everything they've asked her to do.
Yes. And she's a character who knows who she is.
Some people, yeah, she knows the character. She started getting this character over with the minimum of time and investment possible from the company, and has stayed that way. So yeah, she's a mainstay, and she deserves it.
Yeah,
she definitely does.
Yeah, it sounds like someone else that I know that the company seems to apparently have not really cared that much about. We'll get to that. Because
what about did you want to touch on our friend Sammy Hogan? He ran one guy out of the company. Now he goes over and beats Solo just to beat him.
Listen, we can talk about Sammy. Okay, so this happened on Smackdown, right? Where he beat Solo. Mm-hmm. So this kind of ties into the whole Karrion Kross thing, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But I think that in light of what I genuinely do feel is not a work, that Karrion Kross is no longer with the company, that they had to make a hard pivot. They had to make a hard pivot from everything that Sammy was doing before. And so sending him to SmackDown, not permanently, obviously, but sending him over to SmackDown to have that match with Solo, maybe it's being used to, start to build a different angle for Sammy to go into that maybe was not entirely the plan a month or two ago.
I'm going to be honest, I hadn't thought about this until you just said that stuff, but I don't know if I want to save this for the well, this more involves the Sammy stuff, and my Cross things are really separate from the Sammy feud, so we'll talk about that later. But
okay,
what if, we talked about how the Cross stuff ended unsatisfyingly. Did him not accepting a contract ruin his own angle that he could have gotten over with? Like, what if they're like, we have these plans, but we're not going to go through with these plans if you're not going to be with us, big guy.
Well, okay,
that seems like a distinct possibility at this point.
All right, so you know what? Let's just go ahead and jump into this because we're here at this point.
All right, let's do it.
So if you have not been on the surface level of the planet, meaning under a rock or something, Karrion Kross is currently no longer with World Wrestling Entertainment. He's unemployed,
as some would say.
Now, from what is told, and did you watch the interview with Ariel Helwani?
I did.
Okay. So, according to Kevin, which is Karrion's real name, according to Kevin, and according to some other things that I had heard, he had been approaching WWE about wanting to renegotiate his contract much earlier in the year. I think it was around January. And he never really heard back from the company until his last day with the company was midnight, the 10th of August. And
yeah.
He hadn't heard from them till a week prior to that date. And he said that they offered him a contract. He did not even imply that the contract was worse than the one that he had. He didn't even imply that he wasn't satisfied with the contract. He just wanted to know what went into the valuation of his contract. WWE was apparently unwilling to go into those details with him. And they gave him a deadline of when he needed to make a decision. Otherwise, the contract was going to be rescinded. He said that he needed some time to think about it, that he really would like to talk to someone about the particulars of the contract. And WWE was unwilling to have this conversation with him. The date that WWE laid out lapsed. Therefore, the contract was rescinded. I'm assuming at the point when that contract was rescinded, any plans that they were planning with Karrion Kross, with Sami Zayn, or anything going into the future took a nosedive. Now, did you also watch The Killer Part 1 and Part 2?
I did not.
Okay. So I watched The Killer Part 1 a while back because they didn't come out at the same time. And I watched The Killer Part 2 a few days ago. What I will say, and mind you, what I will say is based on what was in that doc, based on the conversation that Kevin had with Ariel Helwani, I no longer believe that this is a work. I don't think, just based on the way that this was spoken about, that there's anything to gain by telling this story this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have some sort of like profit motive, for lack of a better term, right? There has to be something that you gain from this. And the way that this story is being told, if you were to still think this was a work, right? There's nothing to gain from this. There's just nothing to gain. The way the story is told is lackluster. If this is a story, that's a shitty story. It sucks. It doesn't work well for anyone. And I would really think that if WWE told this story and decided to go with it to this degree, I don't even think it's received well. I think that he would be received well. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the crowd at this point genuinely likes this guy. But the story, good God, you took a dump on this one. Like, that's not a good story at all. And in light of the groundswell that he had, I just don't see how working a story like this makes any kind of sense whatsoever. But, you know, I guess you can never really say never with WWE. I do think that and I'm not getting off topic by saying this, but I can get how some people may think that. I understand how some people felt when Seth Rollins did the whole injury angle, and they were like, you're playing a dangerous game here with running with angles like this because, you know, me and my markiness is going to then question every injury that comes around. Look, slow down. If you were paying attention with Seth and that angle, there were so many telltale signs that this was work. So many signs. I think in this scenario, however, if this was a work, if this turns out to be a work, I think I would then have those sentiments. Like, WWE is doing a whole lot right now to do something that they didn't have to do. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't think this is a work either. Right? Because you didn't have to do it. The man already had the support. His book is the freaking #1 bestseller on the sports section of New York Times. Like, his book is selling like crazy. His documentary is getting millions of views, and the crowd is genuinely behind him. If you watch The Killer Part 2, you'll see all of that. He has very candid conversations about this groundswell of support, where it came from, the fact that the the Sam Roberts interview that he did after, what was it, Mania?
Yeah.
That was
Which is a good. Yeah. No, go ahead. Finish.
No,
what
I was just saying that was completely a work, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Now, he did talk on Ariel Helwani's podcast about the fallout from that, which I was surprised about.
That's what I'm wanting to get into.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Go ahead, please lead.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm summarizing it. If you think this is an unfair characterization, jump in.
Oh, sure.
He essentially said, like, yeah, he does that interview, and he calls it that's a work. But he said he then had to explain to, he used the term higher-ups. Don't know who that entails. You would assume that entails Triple H. Were unhappy with that until he told them it was a work, right? That's right. What I got from that.
Right. So, brother,
yeah. Kevin, Carrion, it ain't a work if your boss doesn't know it. That's going into business for yourself and then calling it a work after. No shit, they're pissed.
Okay. So
you can't after go, oh no, I was working, brother.
Okay, now hold on.
Come on now.
Now I have to say this because you did not watch the Ariel Helwani interview. So there's more to that story. Because that was the story I had too at first, right? But there's more to that story. So let's rewind the clock back before that segment with Sam Roberts, right? He told the story about when Karrion Kross had that angle going with AJ Styles. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there was a segment that was shot at some award show, right? Where Karrion was talking, somebody stopped him for an interview. Right. And he was like pissed off about something and he was just going off. Right. So if you don't remember that, this is a linchpin to this story. So according to Kevin, he and AJ happened to show up to this building for some award show. Right. That they were both at, and they were coming. Of course, in real life, these people aren't enemies. Right. So they're just chatting it up as they're going into this award show. So he says they get to the floor where they're supposed to be going past all this, stuff going into the award show, and Press is there. Now, in his mind, he and AJ are thinking, we can't walk in together, right? Because they're wrestlers, right? So in their mind, they're like, we're working an angle. Kevin, in his mind, is in the mindset of like a lot of the old school professional wrestlers, right? And don't break the kayfabe. So he and Styles talk, and he tells AJ, you walk ahead of me, right? And then I'll come in a little bit after you so we don't look like we're coming in together, right? So AJ walks ahead of him. And then at some point between when AJ leaves and Kross comes in, AJ gets stopped by someone. And they're asking him questions, camera, microphone in his face, right? Karrion's coming in, and there's no way to stop this interaction at this point. They tried, but they can't, right? And so Karrion decides, well, okay, so what I'm going to do is when they come up and start asking me questions, I'm going to act like AJ just pissed me off about something, right? And so he does this thing, and this is what we all see. He's pissed off that AJ, something, and he's, mad about it, right? According to Kevin, someone approached him after that. It wasn't Triple H, but someone in production approached him after that, and they were like, hey, that was really good. We should do more of that with your character, which is this almost like shoot style approach to things. So fast forward to WrestleMania. He had been having conversations with some of these people in production, and the idea was to make this seem legit, to make it seem real. So there was a conversation between him, some of these people in production, Sam Roberts. All of them were in on this whole thing. So then that interview happens, right? Goes off without a hitch. They said afterwards it wrapped. He was still there with everyone. They're talking. All right, it worked out great. Everything looks good. He said that there were people who were in the know who thought it was great. There were people who were not in the know, and they thought that he had gone into business for himself. He said that when the people in production told him that he was cleared to do this. In his mind, he thought you all cleared this with the people who clear these things. He said that we don't always nowadays have a direct connection to Hunter the way people think we do. He was also talking about that with regards to his contract, because Ariel asked him, have you called Hunter yourself? And he was like, dude, we don't really do that anymore. Like, the company sends a representative who is directly speaking for the people who are in charge of the contracts. So my assumption is that when the contract person says X, Y, and Z, this is coming from the desk of whoever is in charge, right? So if there's something that they need to say, they're saying it, and it's coming through these representatives. So when this person who was in production cleared this whole thing, because it's not like this was hidden when they did it, right? He was under the impression that this was cleared by everyone until people started saying stuff. Then he goes and he talks to Hunter, and he says, Hunter felt some kind of way about it until he told him what the situation was. And then he was fine with it. So it was just, from the way he told that, it was just very ironic how this whole situation played itself out. And he doesn't feel like that scenario had any bearing on his contract situation. He doesn't feel like those things were really connected at all. Because once that was cleared up, everyone was fine. But no, I wanted to tell you that part because I don't think, based on what it is that I've seen in the doc, what I saw in that interview, right, and how the situation played out, that he was going into business for himself. It seems like somebody contacted him and told him that that little thing y'all did at that little awards show was really good and we should do more of that. He thought that that was cleared by everyone who was involved, who should be involved. And so he and the people who did that did it. And it was cleared by some people, but it didn't go up the ladder high enough. And so there was a little bit of backlash, but once he cleared that up, everything was fine. I don't know. Go ahead.
You keep finishing.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't know.
I really don't have too many more thoughts on it right now. Like, I would have loved to see them go somewhere with it in WWE. And I do like Cross. Think he's good. I hope he succeeds, and then selfishly hope he succeeds well and then comes back to WWE where I'll watch him. And I'll keep tabs on what he's doing, but I have a hard time believing that. And, maybe Triple H gets outvoted on some of these things, but that is a dude that loved him some Karrion Kross. I mean, he let him beat the shit out of everybody in NXT for a while.
Yeah.
And, it just...
but then he came up to the main roster and got put in a mask and a gimp suit.
Correct.
And then was released.
It just never went anywhere. And I don't know whose fault that is, and there's going to be multiple sides to the story. It's unfortunate because it's something that we for weeks thought there was steam behind. And man, it looked like they were telling a story that was going to go somewhere. And then Sammy just beat him for no reason. Or not for no reason, but with no development and nothing changing. And I assume at that time, that's kind of what I was talking about. Does that go differently if he signs a new contract? And he's within his right. If he wanted to know the valuation and they didn't give him the methodology behind it, and that was a sticking point for him, it is what it is.
Well, he didn't reject the contract.
Right. He just wanted to know the valuation. They weren't going to do that. And
he was still open for a conversation, and they didn't want to have any further conversation.
I'm not dismissing that. I'm taking it with a grain of salt coming from the talent. There will be another side to that that's probably completely different, and somewhere in the middle will be the truth, probably.
Sure.
And look, it is what it is. Some people are going to feel differently. Is that the best way to negotiate the contract? Probably not. Did he give, I don't remember him hearing it, did he give a timeline on when they gave him that contract? I mean, obviously he said the January stuff and that they didn't get back to him.
He said that he received a phone call about the contract a week before August 10th.
Okay.
And he was given a tight deadline to make a decision. He said that he wanted to have conversations about what that evaluation was. He did not want to get into the specifics of the contract itself, how much was in it, what his thoughts were on it, because, and this was all in the Hawani interview.
I'm going to read between the lines there. If they'd offered him, $5 million a year, I'm sure he wouldn't have cared about that valuation and how they came to the number.
Yes, I definitely think there's probably something that he thought he should be getting more of, right? How much or what that increase to that contract is, I'm not sure, because it could be monetary.
If he's asking for how did we come to that number, it's probably because a few months ago he sold a bunch of T-shirts and probably didn't see either an increase or how much of an increase he wanted.
It's possible, yeah.
That's like again, that's an assumption, but that's, I believe, connecting the dots here. Because like I said, he's not caring about the valuation and how they got there if he liked the number.
Oh, well, of course. Of course, right. Right. Absolutely. So, yeah, and listen, one thing that he did say let me rephrase. One thing he didn't say in the Ariel Helwani interview was anything that he felt like was going to tarnish his relationship or future relationship with WWE. He is
at least smart in that regard.
Well, yes. And listen, he said in that interview, he has currently no interest in wrestling anywhere else. He wants to work for WWE. He never wanted to work anywhere else. And he considers WWE home. He wanted to end his career in WWE. So he has no interest whatsoever in wrestling for another promotion. He said that other promotions they're reaching out to him, but they're hesitant to even offer him anything because they don't know if this is a work. But he's like, it's not a work. But at the same time, I'm not interested in fielding interviews or interviews from any other companies trying to get him, to wrestle for them, because he doesn't want to wrestle anywhere else. And he really still wishes that he and WWE could come to the table and have a conversation because there's more to discuss. And he would want to come back and wrestle for WWE, but he doesn't know if WWE is interested. And there's nothing that he can do about that, but just wait and hope that they contact him.
It's all just weird, It's like, it's so weird. That's why and it's weird that the medium, obviously, I wouldn't say Helwani's Ultimate Boss is obviously not WWE and stuff, but I don't think he's gonna step on their toes. You know what I mean?
Sure. But then we've seen people in interviews shoot on WWE. When they have no interest in coming back, right? You know what I'm saying? They have no reason to, sugarcoat anything or shield WWE from anything. And then the other thing, right? I'll say this, and then we can kind of, summarize our feelings on this because there's more to talk about. But one of the things that he'd said in that interview with Ariel Helwani with regards to the Sam Roberts work shoot, right, was that if he had gone into business for himself, understand that Sam Roberts interview was done on WWE programming. This was not done on a YouTube channel. This was not done on some Twitch channel. This was WWE programming. This was filmed and recorded in their trucks. If he went into business for himself, that would have never aired anywhere. It would have never aired anywhere.
Which even more makes me question the weirdness of Triple H wasn't too happy. I don't know. Maybe he's right and he's less involved than I think, and probably and I can see that he's got more stuff to worry about than to, run every piece of content that's going to go out on WWE by him, minute by minute. But you would think
he knew. You would think he'd hear about it, right?
Right.
But I think that's also what. Well, I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know because that's why I say it's
all weird. I'm not necessarily saying this is more of a reason it is a work is deserved. That's just weird to me. All of it's odd.
It is. It's odd. And I'll say this. I do believe that whatever led to this, however anyone feels about what led into this situation, I think we are both in consensus. At least I think that we're in consensus that the end result of this is not a work. I don't think that he's working this idea of not being employed. I don't think he's employed with them right now. And I'll say this, whatever the case may be, I think that this was a monumental missed opportunity. The groundswell of support that Karrion Kross was getting from the broader WWE universe is not something to sneeze at. And he had spoken in that interview and on the documentary about a conversation that he had with R-Truth after after I want to say it might have been like Crown Jewel, one of the last Crown Jewels that happened in Saudi, and he got pulled onto that card. It was a match against, I believe it was a match against Sammy.
Probably.
And
that's the only person he's wrestled for a bid.
Yes. So it was a match against Sammy and Crown Jewel. And he said that right before Crown Jewel was to happen, his uncle Chris died. And he was headed home to go, help with funeral arrangements for his uncle. And when he got into town, wherever it is he's from, I can't remember. But he said he got there and then he got a call from WWE that they wanted to put the Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross match on at Saudi. I think that was right around when AJ got injured because they were going to do.
AJ and Dom.
Yes, and that match got pulled. And so they put the Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross match on. And he said at first he was going to turn that down, but his family talked to him and said that your Uncle Chris would not want you to pass up on this opportunity. And so he went. And he said that when he went to go do this show, there were people that were talking to him. And I believe that this Saudi show obviously happened after WrestleMania. And he said that at the time, he was not aware that there were people who did not know that the Sam Roberts thing was a work. He said, so there were some people who were talking to him about like how the show was going to go at Saudi, while he was on the way there. And he said there were some people who were talking to him and they kept saying things to him like, we're going to do this like we planned, right? And he said at the time, all he was thinking about was his uncle. So, he was like, yeah, of course, this is how the match is planned. This is how we're going to do it. And so he said the match went off the way the match was going to do. He said he loved Sammy. Sammy is one of the best people he's ever worked with. And he said, he was on the flight back and only thing that was on his mind was his uncle. And he was wondering if he had made the right decision, right, to go do this show and miss his uncle's funeral. And at the time, I want to say that the groundswell support around Karrion was as hot as it ever was. And he said he had a conversation with Truth. And he was telling Truth about like his back and forth feelings about not being there for his uncle's funeral. And he said that Truth said something to him that will stick with him for the rest of his life. And he said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, don't overlook the feeling that you have right now, because this is the moment when the fans chose you. And knowing how the fans chose Truth for a time, right? And how he said that, I think he said Truth alluded to the fact that like, there are pioneers in our industry who are venerated, celebrated, and never had a groundswell push from the fans. And that's true. You have people like the Dynamite Kid who are instrumental to the foundation and the bedrock of what professional wrestling in the modern day looks like. Never had a groundswell of support from the fans. But sometimes you get chose. And he just reminded him of that. And all of these things just kind of in concert just lent to this interview with somebody who seemed just genuinely grateful that he had a moment where the fans chose him. And if this is the last time he ever wrestles to that degree, then he's happy he did it. And, wherever things go after this, he said they've got a lot of things booked, a lot of things planned, because the groundswell support is there. And none of it involves wrestling right now. I think he's got some stuff going on with like another book. And there's some acting things that are, and some appearances that he'll do, but none of it involves wrestling. And he said he's okay with that right now because obviously he would love to come back to WWE and wrestle with them again. And he feels like things ended in a way that really require some more conversations to happen. Not because he's sour about anything, but he just doesn't want WWE to be sour about things, because he feels like there's more conversation needs to be had that's just not being had. And in my opinion, it just sucks because I like Karrion Kross. I know you like Karrion Kross, and there's a lot of people who like Karrion Kross. And it just feels like WWE, whatever the case may be, you should be trying to deliver for the fans. I think that's what gets me the most, Skeens, is that you should be trying to deliver for the fans. And when you watch the documentary and he's talking about conversations that he's having with people, and people are telling him to like, don't buy in too much to this hype right now. They're behind you right now, but they may not be in the future. Let's just, see where this goes. And then you see where it goes and the groundswell continues to happen. And you get it from the perspective of, okay, they've got stories that they're trying to tell. So obviously we're not just going to deviate from course, you know what I'm saying? And just push somebody to the moon. But when it continues and it continues and it continues to grow, and you just have people who are just not willing to really try and pull the trigger on you. He said it can get demoralizing, but you keep doing it and the groundswell continues. And meanwhile, you've expressed interest in wanting to talk about your contract and no one will do it with you. I don't know. It just makes me as a wrestling fan feel like, why do we invest? Why do we invest in characters and fall in love with the things that you give us if you're not willing to give it to us? I'm not telling you to break story, right? But like everything that was building with Karrion Kross was outside of the plans that y'all were working, and y'all were still working them. I don't understand why you would not at least talk with the man more about his contract. It seems odd. Like you said, it just seems odd. And
yeah, that's the stuff that, like, again, I'm not saying he's being dishonest. He's probably not. But there's a whole level of corporate crap that probably goes into that who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm more, let's talk about the wrestling aspects of it. I like Karrion Kross. I like, what he could have done. We liked some things about where these things were going, but they didn't get there for whatever reason. At this point, it's not great to see someone lose their job. I think at this point he'll probably be back at some point, but at this point, let's have it be a bit. Like, I don't think beating down this road is gonna do anything unless it becomes so the desire to see him from the fans becomes so insatiable it's hard to ignore. The truth thing is similar, but like, if we're being honest, I think I saw a sign on Monday. I didn't hear any "We Want Cross" chants. I didn't. I'd be lying if I said I did. He had that groundswell. I don't know if it's as big as we may have thought it was being inside the bubble, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. There's definitely support. It was definitely there. It was definitely vocal. The thing that hurt him is it disappeared when he came out and got in the ring. It's almost like the idea of Karrion Kross and the Karrion Kross push was more entertaining to people than when it actually got out there in the ring. I'm not saying that's just his fault. That's, that can be a failure of the entire system of the writing team, but like, it just wasn't there right now.
Do you think it disappeared in the ring?
I think the fan investment waned when it materialized in front of their face. Now, and some of that may be that he didn't have the right dance partner in the right story, but yeah, I think for whatever reason, it didn't work. I think if it was truly working in a way, like, they don't just let him walk out of the company. And that's what I have to think. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you think he works for WWE again? Yes or no?
I think he would work for WWE again. If I'm to believe what it is that I'm inclined to believe, there isn't any barrier here really between communication. Why it's not happening is anybody's guess, right? But I don't think it doesn't appear that he's not open to working with WWE again. So, I have no idea. I think he could. And I mean, I know after SummerSlam, when they, because obviously they stopped that was the night that they stopped doing their little press conferences. But, when Triple H was out there with them, so he could do his, greatest box office numbers ever spiel, they were chanting, "We want Cross."
They were there.
Huh?
They were there.
Yeah.
I don't hear it. And look, that's something. That's not nothing. I'm not trying to completely dismiss that. But I know there's "We Want Cross" chants by the people that are dedicated enough to this product to miss the last 5 minutes of SummerSlam to run out to be in the background shot of the post-show press conference.
Sure.
I don't know if the We Want Cross chants are going to come from all 15,000 people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's not discouraging it because, like, look, again, I've said it. I like Cross. I wish Cross was doing good things, but for whatever reason, I don't think it was working the way anyone wanted it to. And again, I have to question, like, how much is it, like, and we'll never know, like, what was the plan had he signed that contract? Does SummerSlam play out completely different?
Sure, yeah. I mean, look, we'll never know, man. We'll never know. I mean, maybe we will, actually. Maybe we'll know at some point if the truth comes out in this story.
This is Lariat Lounge 21. So in a year, hopefully, if we keep the same numbering system, we'll be on Lariat Lounge 73 or 74 by then.
Something like that.
Is Karrion Kross employed by WWE by Lariat Lounge episode 74?
If I'm making a guess right now, I would say yes.
That's where I'm at, too.
Yes, I think so. So I took some notes about some things that were really at the top of my brain, right, with the world of WWE. And we just crossed them off. We crossed one of them off, right? The next one I have on my list, Skeens, is what in the world is going on with Naomi? Like, that situation just came out of nowhere. And I knew, obviously it was made very clear by WWE that, she was not cleared to compete on, what was it, Raw, I believe?
Yes. She wasn't cleared to defend against Io, right?
Yes, she was, supposed to defend against Io, and she was, not able to compete. Then you had this backstage segment with Io and Damage Control. Or Kabuki Warriors, I'm sorry. And, they're having a conversation with Asuka and Kairi. And then you have the angle that happens in Io's match where the Kabuki Warriors try to help and it ends up backfiring. Io loses the match. Then you get the backstage segment with Io and Kabuki Warriors again. And if I'm not mistaken, did they end up assaulting her?
No, but it really felt like they were going to. It ended up her and Asuka got in each other's face. Asuka shouted at her and
walked off.
Yes, and walked off. And Kairi was left kind of, I guess, like in the middle in between her two friends.
Yes.
But I thought the whole show, from that first moment, like, I thought they were assaulting her during her entrance. Like, I was waiting for them to come out from backstage when she was on that stage and just beat her down.
Right. So
but it definitely feels like we're definitely going, towards Io and Asuka.
Yeah. So they're angling this thing with Io and Asuka, right? Then we get the backstage segment with Stephanie Vaquer. She walks into the frame and she's like, yeah, I had a championship match against Naomi too. That's not happening. That was supposed to be happening at Clash in Paris because Stephanie Vaquer, what did she win in order to qualify for that? Was it Queen of the Ring?
The Battle Royal at Evolution.
Oh, yes.
The Battle Royal.
The Battle Royal Evolution. So Naomi is not going to make it to Clash in Paris. It concerned me a little bit because you never want somebody to be injured, right? And they just worked this angle with Seth Rollins and his injury. I highly doubt they're doing this again.
No, she's definitely, I mean, if they're saying she's out, she's out.
Right.
So,
like, for one, that just sucks because Naomi is probably hotter than she's ever been. And, it always sucks to see someone get injured and they're like firing on all cylinders. But man, like, I don't think this was, I mean, who knows? Who knows this was something that happened in the ring or outside of the ring. But yeah, it just sucks. It just sucks that she's injured.
It does suck to lose her right at this time. Like, because you hope she can come back and recapture this level of, heat and be this over. But this is pretty high. So we'll see. And I hope it's not long term, but seems to be at least for a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, it would just really suck because I am feeling like if she's missing Clash in Paris and she's the champion, how long do you keep the champion off of television when they're actually hurt and keep the title on them? You know what I mean? Like Roman would step away for long periods of time while he was still the undisputed champion. But they were telling a really involved story with Roman, and they're not going to take the belt off of him. because he's just doing the Roman thing where he's taking these long sabbaticals, and then he'll come back. But if she's injured, man, I am just dreading turning on Smackdown or Raw or something, and they announce that the World Championship has been vacated. That would just suck.
We haven't heard anything to that nature yet, which makes me think it's not, because you would think whatever it is, they'd know by now that it would be a significant amount of time and have taken care of that. But as of today, which is Thursday the 14th, a little behind the curtain, I haven't seen anything.
Me either.
To that regard. So we can hope that's not coming to pass.
Yes, and that's where my hope is that, whatever it is that she's dealing with, that she can handle it, and she'll be back soon enough. But we know we're not going to have her by the end of the month, at least. So
yeah,
best wishes to Trinity Fatu, Naomi, that whatever you're dealing with, that you'll come back and everyone will embrace you and love you, because I was just in love with your run so far, and I hope you're able to pick up the ball and keep going. So the next thing on my notes is LA Knight and CM Punk are a combo that I like.
Yes, very much.
I did not think I needed that until I saw it, and then I was like, these two work incredibly well together. And I don't know if this needs to turn at some point into a feud between the two of them. I'm certainly not proposing a tag team, though that would be fun. Never seen Punk in a tag team. But man, they played off of each other so well, particularly in their match. It's like this one-upsmanship with this level of respect, but also, okay, don't tell me what to do, I got it, kind of, angle between the two of them. I really enjoyed that. What about you?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, just because they're faces doesn't mean they have to be friends. And it fits both their characters, the character's personality to do what they did. And it was great to see them kind of button heads and sparring. And yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I loved Punk accepted the match. And then LA Knight goes, "Hey, don't speak for me." Yeah, we accept. That was funny. But yeah, that was great, and especially seeing where they're going into this this fatal 4-way. We'll get more of that clashing all the way to the final clash in Paris. Yeah, it seems like. But yeah, it was a refreshing little pairing. They'd hinted at it before, and LA Knight rubbing everyone the wrong way, talking about where the line starts and lines behind me. It was bound to rub someone the wrong way, and he finally got that.
He did. He definitely got that. And the match against Braun was really good. Let me tell you, and we say this all the time, but man, how about that Braun Breaker guy, right?
Yeah, what a stud.
Stud. He just has it. I'm sitting here watching the match. Now, I talked about it on the live. He has LA Knight in a rear chin lock. And as he's got him in his rear chin lock, he just starts talking, right? And he starts saying, "I'm confused. Maybe you can help me out. What does LA mean anyway? Is your first name really Los Angeles? You really want me to believe your first name is Los Angeles? Or is it Louisiana?" And I'm just sitting here thinking, I say the same thing I say all the time. The dude's got intangibles. Like, you don't teach that. You know what I'm saying? Either you got that or you don't. And he has it in spades. And when he does it, you just see the Steiner that we've seen before, in particularly his uncle. But you just see it, dude. And it's so amazingly cool to watch, because when you see somebody genuinely blossoming into a superstar right in front of your eyes, man, it's awesome to watch, right?
I mean, we've hinted at it before, but you can see it's just the next evolution of what Scott Steiner was, almost. And no disrespect to Rick, but obviously Scott was the bigger personality there, and like you said, Braun's uncle. And yeah, just the stuff he says. I talked about it, I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before, but like that comedy element where he just plays it so dry and so straight. It's just hilarious when he does it. And he's really coming into his own, and we'll keep saying the same thing every week, I'm sure, until he stops impressing us, but I don't see a way that's going to happen.
No, I don't see that either. I don't see that either, dude. And I'm sitting here watching this tag team match, right? And in light of the fact that, okay, they got this fatal 4-way, it's going to be Punk versus Roman versus LA Knight versus Seth. That's announced by Adam Pearce after
Jay, not Roman.
Say that again?
Jay, not Roman.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and Seth. Right.
Yeah.
So you've got this fatal 4-way, and Pearce announces this after Seth, quote unquote, lies again about leaving, and then he shows back up.
Yeah.
Pearce, as if nobody has ever done that before in the history of WWE until Seth did it this time. Now you're getting mad and making matches off of it. But we get this fatal 4-way, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, so Roman is not a part of this match. Roman, I believe, is going to show up at Clash in Paris.
Well, he is. There is a graphic, at least, for him, because they seem to be doing Vincent Van Gogh Starry Night styling with these with like the poster.
I had noticed.
There's definitely a Roman Reigns face. Like, and I think he may be like the main Clash in Paris poster.
Is he even on the card though?
Not yet. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Fair.
So you would think he's there because he's on a promo poster.
True. As of now, he does not have a dance partner for Clash in Paris. What I could see, and genuinely speaking, I don't know if we even get a clean finish to this fatal 4-way. I don't see WWE booking any of these 4 gentlemen to take a loss, and they're not taking the title off of Seth. I was talking about this when I was on the live stream. I think Roman runs in here, and I think Roman runs in here to get his hands on Seth, right? Braun currently does not have dance partners at Clash in Paris either. So
yeah, I think we're gonna do Bronson and Roman at Clash in Paris.
You think so?
Yeah, because he had that. Bronson addressed him directly with
that's okay.
With the pre-tape and said that our OTC needs to acknowledge his tribal thief.
Yeah, he did say that.
But yeah, they did a straight package where he was calling him out. 2 times we've come face to face, and 2 times I've beat you down, and I've got the Shula follow to prove it and all that. So yeah, I think that's where we're going, and that'll give Roman an excuse to be there if he wants to run in.
Okay, so I hadn't entertained that because I had forgotten about that promo. So who do you think would win that match? Not that we're getting into predictions, but I have this idea that he's popping up in my head, and I think they're going to do it. But I mean,
Roman Reigns has not taken.
He's not taking
at least a clean loss. Yeah,
right.
There may be a non-finish, but I don't think he's losing even in the dirtiest of ways. Is he actually losing?
Yeah, he could. And he could do that, right? You could do that then at Clash in Paris. If it was me, I would have the blow off match with Roman versus Bronson in Bronson's home. Save that for Crown Jewel Perth.
Very possible. I didn't think about that.
I would say save it for that, right? And this is why I'm saying that. One, obviously, I think that would just be a nice blow off match to have in Australia. But so we're having this tag team match on Raw, right? And that's what? Punk and Knight versus Braun.
Yep.
And we get a run-in from Seth. Seth comes in there, and who comes to save the day for the good guys? Jey Uso. Jey Uso is still in this whole thing. Jey is now aligned on the quote-unquote good side with CM Punk and LA Knight. Now it's Jey Uso. Roman is still in this picture as well. You have this fatal 4-way match at Clash in Paris. In the middle of this match, Roman Reigns comes to the ring, right? To keep tension and animosity that they've been building kind of with the the faces in this whole thing, right? And the fact that Roman and Jay have already tagged against Braun. Roman comes to the ring, right? He attacks Seth. The match is, well, actually it's a fatal 4-way, so it's no DQ.
Correct.
So Roman comes to the ring. He attacks Seth. The match is still going. Braun come out on Seth's behalf, right? So now you've got this big old scrap between the Vision, the four of them, and then you've got LA Knight, Jey Uso. Oh, not Jey Uso. LA Knight, CM Punk. No, Jey Uso's in that match. Yeah. LA Knight,
yeah.
CM Punk, Jey Uso, and Roman Reigns, and the Vision. The Vision are short one man. Mm-hmm. I think you get the reveal of the fourth member of the Vision to even the odds. Mm-hmm. I have a guess as to who that is.
And lay it on us.
I think it's Austin Theory.
Okay, that's who I want it to be.
Yeah,
it's definitely who I want it to be. I think we've talked about this before. Yeah.
Yes. That's who I want it to be as well. I want it to be Austin Theory. I think he would probably be a good fit for this squad. He's the young gun, and I think he could absolutely work with this team. And I honestly think we are building towards War Games. That's the next pay-per-view after Perth, right? And it's the only thing they've really been building. And you've got those four, Roman and Punk and LA Knight and Jay versus the four-man team of the Vision in War Games.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I hope happens. I would love for Theory to slot in here, and I think it would really benefit him because we've talked before. Like he's a guy that seemingly has everything. Let's just get him around these other guys that have either put it all together in Seth, starting to put it all together in Braun and Bronson, and have seen many people do this same thing before in Paul Heyman. And I know it's not like the old days where, they're riding up and down the road every night to the next town. We don't do that as much anymore, but there's still some of that.
Yeah.
And I think Austin Theory, as the performer, could benefit from being around that. And this will enhance the Austin Theory character, too, to get him, get a little of that credibility back in a way. Because, I mean, they have been, Grayson Waller, the New Day, have been running him down.
Yes, they have.
So there is that. So he doesn't even have to, immediately, he can be like a background player in these main stories, and he can go get his from those folks if they want to choose that. But yeah, I would love for it to be Theory. And it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm sure we've hit on it before because I don't think I would have come up with that idea by myself. I think I stole it from you and have made it my own. But yeah, I would love for it to play out that way.
I would love to see that too.
They definitely are going to have to do something for War Games because the math just doesn't math right now.
Right.
With 4 versus 3. So something's got to give somewhere.
Yeah. And then, like we said before, right? WWE is not currently building anything else for War Games right now. Like there's no other 4-man unit in any configuration that currently exists on the roster, and we're only a few months out. So, they got to be building something. And it seems like that's the built-in story there. And then you also have this idea, right, that like, let's say you bring Austin Theory in for the fourth member of the Vision. Whoever goes over at War Games, which I think if you're really trying to tell a good story, you got to put the Vision over, right? You're building this stable. They have to have be headlong into their momentum so that when they take the fall, it matters. They can't keep losing everything, right? And then you beat them in the end. It doesn't matter. So they've got to win at War Games. There is definitely something that you can also build off of a victory for the Vision at War Games with Austin Theory getting his licks back on Grayson Waller, right? And if the New Day, quote unquote, have his back, which is tenuous at best because he tends to keep turning around and they're not there. So you could go in multiple directions with that, right? Austin Theory can come to get his pound of flesh from Grayson Waller, and Grayson Waller turns around. There is no New Day in sight. And then you go on, You can have them have a
Yeah,
one-on-one.
I'm envisioning the 6-man tag where the New Day just hop off the apron and leave Waller by himself against Theory, Bronson, and Braun.
You took the
And he
words right
just
out of my mouth.
gets devastated.
You took the thought right out of my head. This is why I love doing this podcast with you, because we are on the same page with things. I can envision Theory and Braun in a match against the New Day, right? And at some point, Woods and Kofi just hop off the apron and leave him to his fate, and he gets destroyed by the three of them, you know? And then, listen, if you really want to go wild pitch on these things, the current IC champ is Dom. The current US champ is Solo. If you really wanted to bring Seth's vision to light, they have to hold all the power. We've already got Braun kind of establishing themselves as a tag team. They take the tag team belts off of, oh, Lord forbid, they take it off of the Wyatt Six or whoever's got the title at the time. You could have Austin Theory, who's already been a U.S. champ, either take that U.S. title again or he takes the IC belt. And then you've got Seth as the world champion, and the Vision literally controls everything. They're almost like an improved version of the Bloodline, storyline wise, right? He's doing this better than Roman did it. Because I think ultimately we're getting to the point where it's like the ultimate feud has always been the idea of Seth versus Roman at Mania. And Seth has to usurp everything that is Roman in order for that blow off to really be like the blow off of all blow off matches.
I'm with you. There's still more to, even with Seth being the top dog and having the belt, there still is, I think, more domination to be had before we can start whittling them down.
Oh, I don't mean hot-shotting that for 42.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm agreeing with you, kind of thinking out loud that, there's further domination to be had before it comes to its inevitable end, which I still think we're on track for it to be Braun Breaker getting fed up with things. But it seems that they are not pushing that as hard as they were, because we had that backstage segment, and I'm not saying they've forgotten about it.
Right.
But I was waiting for Braun to give us a look or some sort of sour face when Seth was like, my work's done, I'm getting out of here for the night.
Yeah.
I was looking for maybe Braun to give us some sort of like, oh, you're just going to leave it to us, like, kind of look.
Yeah.
But he was seemingly all on board, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to rush into that at all. So
No.
I'm actually I'm saying I'm kind of glad that that's not bubbling up just yet.
I agree. There's no need to hot shot a good thing. Like if you've got it in the pipeline and you're building this story, the payoff is so much better if you slow burn this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like slow roast that and let that, the juices really start to cook before you take it out of the oven, so to speak. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that 1,000%. And you definitely need to give the Vision a lengthy amount of time to really exert their will and their dominance over WWE. You know what I'm saying? Because you still have the CM Punk element in this, and we don't need to quickly write that off in light of a big blow off or a big feud between Seth and Roman. So,
we've still got so many layers to peel through, and so many avenues to get through, I think, before you get back to Roman Seth.
Oh, I agree. And listen, Seth still needs to become the thing that he hates the most, which is what he claims CM Punk is, which is, he's just trying to, turn the company into an image of himself or destroy the company, or, he's only out for his own self-interest. And if Seth becomes what he claims to be with the Vision, right, then he will be dominating everything. He will be oppressing everyone. And yeah, you still have a lot of tread on the tires with Punk and the role that he could play in this. I would still love to see a Clash of Champions match with Seth as the world champ versus Cody as the WWE champ. And
interesting idea. Yeah.
I would really love to see that, particularly with Seth in the role that he's in now. I think that would just be really nice to see. And then, of course, ultimately you get down the line to what I think we ultimately end up with is, I don't know if you do this at like 43 or something, but you have a match down the line where it's Roman versus Seth. And honestly, I think if you're really smart about it, you keep the title on Seth for a while. And maybe you have him drop that title either to Punk, which I don't know, that would kind of derail some story stuff we were just talking about, or you drop it to Roman and Roman becomes that world champ. Have we done a program like a legit program between Roman and Punk?
No, it hasn't been like the one-on-one. So
yeah, I mean, there's room for all of these things, man.
They were involved at WrestleMania, and then they were involved at Survivor Series before that. But other than that, it's been just kind of tangential.
Yes.
At best.
Yes. And they've done a good job. That's one thing we have been praising very heavily is what they've been doing around the world championship scene, particularly like the Raw surrounding stuff, has been great. It's when they keep their storytelling around the pieces on the chessboard that they have in-house, where they can control how all the pawns move, where all the pieces go. They can tell the cohesive types of stories that they told throughout the Bloodline saga, right? It's when they start getting the pieces that are outside of their control all the time, i.e. your Rock, i.e. your Brock, i.e. your Travis Scott. That's when you start getting these elements that you can't always, manipulate the way you want to. And then the story kind of loses things. So my hope is that WWE will pivot once John Cena's farewell tour ends, right? And that the focus will shift where I believe it should, which is, and this is no disrespect to Cody, just like it was no disrespect to Seth and the world title when we were focused on Roman. But I think it should shift where it should, which is to the world heavyweight championship scene, because that's where they're really building thick stories right now. And let Cody play the role of the workhorse champion and have that WWE championship be that title that Cody fights multiple feuds with a bunch of different people and defends. And maybe you can have that, that trade-off sometimes between what title is being presented as the centerpiece of an in-depth story, and then what title is that championship that we see on Raw and SmackDown sometimes getting defended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I do. I agree, man. I agree. Dude, it has been a very interesting ride when it comes to watching, talking about, reviewing, podcasting on, live streaming on WWE since SummerSlam. I can definitely say it has not been a boring ride. It's definitely been interesting. I'm overall very optimistic about where we're going with WWE programming. And I'm kind of saying this not necessarily to you or to myself, but as a PSA to the listeners of the Lariat Lounge, to possibly new listeners and people who may feel right now a little bit, I don't know, at odds maybe with how they're feeling about WWE professional wrestling right now. I hear you. We have been trained very well over the last 4-5 years to relatively tight storytelling. And we've bought into the stories that they've given us. It's been great. Yes, some of these things that have happened recently with WWE have not been maybe the best. Maybe they've taken some missteps. Maybe they've had to jump cut some scenes. Maybe we don't agree with some of the booking. But I think for the things that we may have some question marks around, they have been doing a whole lot of things right. And I just want everyone to try and balance some of their negative feelings, which I think are valid, with the positive feelings. Because for every situation that maybe makes you feel like, I don't know about what they're doing here, and I have those feelings as well. You listen to this podcast, you definitely hear them. You also hear these moments where I'm so excited about things because they're doing some things really right. And so let's just watch professional wrestling. Let's just enjoy what it is that we have. Let's talk about the things that we don't like and balance these two things out. Because I think if you're giving yourself the opportunity to balance the good with the bad, my hope is that you come away with a product that you can consume, that you can enjoy, that you can be critical of. And at the end of the day, you have a feeling of, what's the word? Satisfaction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel satisfied after watching wrestling. Even though I may not necessarily like every turn, I enjoy a good portion of it. And I feel like overall the product is in a much better place than it was at certain points in the last decade. So I'm generally satisfied. And I would tell you if I wasn't. What do you think, Skeeter?
I think that was a lot of words for my eloquent co-host to say that he cannot wait to see Rusev and Sheamus go at it one more time.
Yo, can I be honest with you? I kind of turned a corner on them.
Oh, come on.
I'm not even kidding. Not that I think that this was the smartest move.
They've got you. They've got him. Ladies and gentlemen, they got him. They got him.
Not that
He's been compromised.
Not that I think it's the smartest move. But if what you're going to give me is these fools just fighting all the time, not like in matches, but like I'm having a backstage segment and Rusev goes flying across the screen because Sheamus just hit him with a truck. Or, we're doing a segment in the ring and then, in the back of the shot, Rusev and Sheamus are fighting in the crowd. And it's like a fight forever type deal. And it's like every time they're around, they're just punching each other's face in. It's goofy. I like goofy.
Yes, I'm fine with that. But didn't we have this just a better version? Wasn't it Bronson and someone else that would just like fight through the backstage through the whole show?
Do you remember who that was? The other person?
I do not.
Then I don't think it's better. Just being honest, like
I remember it being better.
I don't even remember it.
And then they did something like this they've done it with Braun Strowman before, where he was getting to do all the cool shit, pull the stage down and tip over trucks.
And listen, I think that this is
okay.
This is that spot.
If someone pulls the entire like Tron setup down, I'll give it to you. But I'm waiting for that again with a grappling hook, no less.
Listen, if we get that, I will say, you know what? Sometimes jumping the shark is fun. If I just get this angle, maybe running, not forever, because that's just ridiculous, right? But if we do just have this I hate your guts type thing with Sheamus and Rusev, and whenever they see each other, it's on site. I don't even need for you to keep giving me matches. Like, if Sheamus has a match against, I don't know, Grayson Waller or somebody, right? And it's just like after he has his match, he's backstage talking to Kathy Kelly and he's just talking about, hey, it was a good match, blah, blah, blah. And then out of nowhere, here comes Rusev and he just like knocks him into the freaking, crap that's sitting around in the back. And then he just leaves and that's it. I'm like, there goes Rusev again, just attacking Sheamus. Like, I'm okay with that. You don't have to give me a match every week. Like that part, I'm past. But if that led to where we are now, okay. Honestly, what I think they're going to do, they're probably going to end up being a tag team, because that's what happened with Sheamus and McIntyre,
and Sheamus and Cesaro,
You know what? Sheamus has a type.
Yeah,
he has a type. He
some other European.
Yes, that he can't stand. He can't stand them, and then they become best buds.
Yeah.
Best buds.
I hope it turns the corner for me the way it has for you. So Everyone tune in next week and hear Everson wax poetically about the Wyatt Six, I guess.
That won't happen.
I don't know
that
anymore.
Won't happen. No, you know what? That won't happen because I think the spooky wookie stuff is just dumb. Like it's not goofy. It's just dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Why is anyone acting scared of Dexter Lumis? This is the same Dexter Lumis. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't get possessed. He didn't get, extracted from the planet and came back roided out like the Incredible Hulk. It's Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy wasn't even that big of a threat when he was on NXT. Why are we acting afraid of these guys? That's why it doesn't work.
I mean, Bo Dallas worse than any of the rest of them. Like, come on.
True. That's Bo Dallas. Like, why are we acting this way? That's why it will never get over with me, because at least with the goofy, stupid stuff that's going on with Sheamus and Rusev, you can make that make sense for me within the scope of what would go on a pro wrestling house show, right? You would get your main event, you would get your opener, you might get a tag team match, right? And then you'd have two meaty men slapping man meat and fighting all over the arena. As much as I don't want to see Rusev v. Sheamus 10, right? If you just get me them fighting everywhere, okay, I can deal with that. They can turn a corner with me there. But this spooky wookie stuff, dude, it just doesn't work anymore. We are not in that era of pro wrestling. And I feel like you said this before in a previous episode. If you just gave me more of like that Wyatt Six backstage stuff that they were doing about like how they seem like wrestlers who lost their way and found each other. You know what I'm saying? If you just leaned into that, we'd be good, because that spoke to more of how Bray was portraying himself when he came back, right?
Well, I think they were about to tell us why they were going around acting like this.
Yeah.
And then they never did.
Just
tell us why. Yeah, just tell us why you're doing this.
They never did. It's one of them jump cuts. It was just a jump cut, and now we're here, and we're like this. And now you're trying to sell me on how menacing they are. And then, listen, it all started on the bad foot, because though it was a cool visual, Chad Gable was not dead. All those people backstage were not dead, but that's what you were giving me. Really cool visual, bro. Didn't follow up on any of that either. And so, I mean, what are we doing? Like, no, I think they'll hold these titles for a little bit, because honestly, right now, no one really cares about those titles. So just like the War Raiders, they'll hold them for a little bit, and then they'll hand it off to the next team that we're mildly watching, but because they haven't given us anything to really sink our teeth into, conversely of what they're doing with like acts like Charlotte and Alexa, we're just not going to care. That's why I'm just hoping that you make Braun, part of Seth's vision, and then they just take the tag team titles, because it would get so much more street cred around their waist and being a part of that storyline. And then whoever takes it off of them are made men. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's the best angle, man. But I just wanted to add that little PSA, because there's been just a lot of conversation online, and a lot of people are salty about a lot of things, whether it's the Karrion Kross stuff, or whether it's Brock Lesnar, or whether it's the disjointed aspect of the Cena story, or where's The Rock? And I get it. But there's still a whole lot to really love. And I'm not one of those people, as that commenter said in the live stream, right? This is not the podcast that's going to tell you to swallow it, bury it down, don't talk about it. Talk about it. We should talk about it. And you can come here and get that conversation from me and Skeens, because we'll always talk about it. But let's just remember that there is some good here too. And that this product has earned trust equity with us. And that we need to balance these negative feelings with the good feelings, because let's not forget, during the Bloodline run, there were a lot of people who had a lot of salty feelings about a lot of people who never dethroned Roman, and why we didn't push these people, and why these stories just went nowhere, and why this, that, and a third. And then at the end, we look back on it and nobody remembers those things. So, and it's not that they didn't happen, but we remember what we want to remember, and then we remember the good stuff. So let's just enjoy wrestling. Let's talk about the things we don't like. Let's stay civil with each other. Let's have these conversations because that's why we're all here. Skeener, you and I are running into the late night oil right now, at least for us, because we're middle-aged men and and we got things to do. So Skeener, please let our friends know where they can catch us for. This is episode 21.
Episode 21.
Yeah, let our friends know where they can catch us if they want to catch us live, if they want to interact with us live, and if they want to catch us for episode 22.
So we're coming at you every week, once a week at least, in podcast audio format on all your favorite platforms, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, up there. Right now, Everson is live during Raw and Smackdown. I'm going to pop in from time to time. It will be live during all the PLEs, giving you live reactions, and you can watch along with us, talk with us. Right now, we're streaming over on YouTube at the Lariat Lounge Live, a separate account from where the podcast gets posted, so make sure you follow that account. Check in there. That's the Lariat Lounge Live at YouTube. We're over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. We're posting stories, questions all the time. Love having the interaction we get there. And if that's not your thing, social media is not your thing, the inbox is always open at the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. Please, anything you're thinking about wrestling or really anything in your life, we're happy to talk. Hit us up there. Hit us up on Instagram. Join us in the YouTube chats. Let's just make this the great community we all know we can make it.
Absolutely, guys. Listen, life is hard enough. Okay, we got a lot of things to deal with. Wrestling is a nice outlet for us, and the Lariat Lounge is a great place for you guys to come and let off a little bit of steam. So enjoy wrestling with us. Come check us out live. Like on the Lariat Lounge Live, for instance, and you can come hang out with us and talk with me. I'll be there. And then, of course, check us out, Lariat Lounge Live on the PLEs, where me and Skeener will both be there. We can talk wrestling, we can eat pizza, we can hang out, we can have a good time because we appreciate you guys. We really, really, truly do. This has been a great experience. I love doing this with my friend, and I love doing it with you guys. So please come back and join us next week for episode 22, where we'll be talking about all things SmackDown and Raw and all things WWE. From your host, Everson Godfrey, and co-host Andrew Skeens, this has been another edition of the Lariat Lounge. Please watch yourself on the way out.